a bunch of circles in front of me, and I'm going to show you today how you can take a bunch of circles that you have in your stash, or a great way to use up some of your cardstock scraps and make some beautiful cards. And I hope to make a layout soon, so be watching for that as well. But today we're just going to be talking about these cards. All right, so let me clear all of this up. Now, many of you received a thank you card in the mail, and so you've kind of already seen some of what I've created with this, but here are some additional cards. These are actually with squares, and we're going to do some squares today. So I wanted you to see that it doesn't have to just be circles. It can be squares. I've seen it with triangles. I've seen it with different shapes. But I love being able to take just different pieces of cardstock. That's all that this is just different pieces of cardstock, and be able to come up with something completely just unique and beautiful, and I love it. So this is, if you look, this is just a simple, this has got all the same colors as the colors of the year, the 2006-2008 colors, and so it's a great way to show it. And then I just took a embossing folder and did some embossing on the back. I kept it very, very simple. I really wanted, for these first few, just a very, very simple, subtle background, so I used a lot of embossing folders. And we'll use an embossing folder today as well. But I wanted you to kind of be able to see exactly what we had here. And then this was actually using the product of the month from a couple months ago, the Eyelet Bloom embossing folder that we have here. And same thing, I just put this through, did this as an embossing folder slash die cut, because you can see where it's cutting out some of those. So it gave it a little bit more interest. And then I just used some more of the pieces. Now, what's interesting is when you do this technique, you are going to get a minimum of 2 cards each if you do it from scratch. So the way I sent it to you today, we're just going to make 1 card, but you could go and do 2 cards as well with what you have left over. But many times when I do this technique, what I will do is I will do so many at one time that I can get like 12 to 15 cards out of it with just one pass, and we'll explain that in a minute. Here's another one that I did. Now this is with the circles, and this is with the circles so that you can see where they're all kind of creating one big circle. The circles that you guys, or the cards that you received, I took a picture of them because I had sent them all, and so I didn't have any more, but these are the ones that you received. And if you look, it looks like a big swish. And I love that look where it's like continuing on. But I also love that you're continuing that circle look. And then I thought this embossing folder was absolutely perfect because it gave me just the plain circles behind it. And so it just continued on that theme. Again, very, very simple. I'm just using cardstocks for all of it, using an embossing folder, what I have in stock already or on hand already. And then I just added a little bit one of the other circles inside. Again, just to kind of give it some more color. I probably will go back and add just a little bit of bling to it, but these are ones I put together very, very quickly so that you could kind of get some ideas of some different things that you could create with it. So all of those are really just using cardstock. I will show you as well how we're going to do this. I don't know if you can see it, but this has kind of got like a shiny effect, and that is cardstock as well, plain cardstock. So we'll talk about that. But and I did that for this title as well. So you'll see that. Now here, this is a card where I just took some of our DSP and I used it as a background. So again, this is another way to use up some of your, maybe your DSPs that you have where you just have a small scrap, that kind of thing, and then bring in some coordinating circles. And I changed out some of the circles here. You can see all of these here that we're using. Many of you already have these in stock here, and these are the stylish shapes, and I'll show you. I've got all of my circles together so that I can explain it to you kind of how I do it. Here's all my circles right now. Normally I have them stacked just like I do here with the squares, but when I want to cut out and do several of these, what I will usually do is I will take all of my dies and I will line them up, and then I will stick them together just with some simple washi tape. Now, because I've got thicker washi tape and not the real thin pieces, I went ahead and the first cut I made was just on some simple printer paper, and that way every time I go to make a cut after that, I don't have to worry about the washi tape sticking to my paper. What I do is I use all of these different shapes and I do one color and I get all of these out. and then I'll do another color, and I again will do the same thing. I'll just put this on there and I'll cut out the other color and all this different shapes. And that's what helps give me all of these different lines that I have here. And again, comes together so quickly, so fun, works well. But I know many of you have the stylish shapes because we have used these over and over and over, and we're going to continue to use these. So you can see some of these here. I used some different ones. Spotlight on Nature is the ones that these, and what's nice about these is you're going to get 2 sheets and they've all got the different designs on here, and so you can use from either ones. Now because I wanted the different sizing here where it gave me just a little bit more, a lot of times I would go every other one, and so that's why you can see on some of these I've got, you know, the dashes, on some of them I've got like a floral, and on some of them I look at this one and I cannot help but think of a paper plate. Look at that one right there. To me, that just looks like a paper plate. I don't know, but that's what I see. So if you want to do an outside theme, like a picnic, definitely get these, because this is gonna do it for you. But I love being able to use these as well. So that's what a lot of those were made. And these ones here that you see, let me show what I made with those. Okay, this is called the Berry Botanical Vellum paper. This is a specialty paper. I love it because with vellum you just get this somewhat see-through look. It makes it a little bit more soft and elegant in my opinion. This does not go there. But just look how pretty that those are. And again, what I wanted to do with these is I showed you the full circle, and then on this one I kind of showed you the swish or the swag. I didn't make it this huge design, but enough that you could see that it was lining up and that it continued on. I just thought it was really pretty. I liked how that kind of came together, and I was able just to kind of play a little bit and again try out those products, see what I thought. But I just love this technique. So we're just going to play today, and I wanted to do ours this time with the squares, and then you could see just how simple and easy it is to put the squares together. Now when I did these squares here, you can see that I did use the stylish shapes, but when I cut yours out, again for time's sake, instead of having to put them all through the die cut, I just went ahead and cut them out with my trimmer. I did use the stylish shapes for our banner, so we're going to do that, but that's just a little bit of the difference. I do prefer them with the stylish shapes just because I love to get the little bit of that detail that kind of is there. I think it just adds to the design that we have, and I absolutely love that. So I hope you do too as well, but that is kind of the difference between what we're doing now and what you see. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to clean up my mess, and I'm going to take out your packet, and if you have a packet as well, you can take yours out and we can kind of create this together. Now again, this is very, very simple, but I love the technique, and I think you can make it as simple or as difficult as you want it to be. Okay, the first thing I'm going to show you is the fact that you can do any kind of background. Like I showed you in my originals, you can do any kind of backgrounds that you want. When I originally started playing, I really wanted to show you some of the new papers that we have for the in colors, and actually these papers come in all of the colors. You can get them in color families, but I love the different designs of it. And so I really kind of wanted to do that, but I was afraid that some of them may take away, and I really like the subtleness of just using the embossing folder. And so that's what we're going to do now. Let's see. So you're going to need a card base if you didn't get one in your kit. And I thought all of them had it, but if they did not, I apologize. And go ahead and just grab a card base, or you can cut yourself a card base. I've got a card base here. Now what you can see on these, I love to add just a little bit of a decoration, especially if I'm just using, although this isn't plain cardstock, I love to be able to kind of bring in some of our dies that we can use that will cut around the edging. And so that's what I did on these. Again, we're not going to use these. We're going to create today just like the card that you received, so you can kind of see how I did it. So for this is the Hearts of Love 3D die. And I really, really like this die, and I keep calling it a die. Sorry, Hearts of Love 3D embossing folder. I love this embossing folder because I just love the simplicity of, it almost looks like rainbows that kind of go across it, and then it's got a heart in it. I don't know how well you can see that here. And I'll put this in here so maybe that will show it to you a little bit better. But you're going to be able to see it here shortly as we do it. So the thing to note about these dies, or about these embossing folders, is wherever the Stampin' Up design is, if that is on the front, then that means the design is going to go from the back is going to be more raised, and the front is, like, if you're feeling it, you can see that that is divots in and these are out. Well, I want this to push through into those divots, and that's going to give me my raised look. So because this has kind of a pattern that goes across, it's got those rainbows, I don't want to be willy-nilly about how I put this in. So I'm going to put this in, and I'm just going to have it so that it's pretty straight across. I'm just going to close it, and then I'm going to put it in my my die cutting embossing machine. But I'm going to do that off camera because it does make everything wiggle. All right. So there you go. This is what it looks like afterwards. You can see just how beautiful that is. And this is the new shimmer paper as well that's in the golden glow color, and which is, again, one of the colors of the year. This is probably, I hate to say it, but my least favorite. However, as far as all the colors, however, this is the color I've gone to more times than you would ever imagine, which is so funny. But I think it really surprised me for how good of a color it is for our background. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and adhere this part down to my card. And you can use liquid adhesive, you can use tape adhesive, whatever you prefer. But I'm going to do this because it's raised and my circle is going to be raised. It's raised from the embossing. I'm not going to use foam tape on this. I'm just going to put this straight to my card base like that. All right, so I'm going to set that aside. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out all of my square pieces. Okay, now the thing about your square pieces, if you notice, you're going to see that you have two of each size, but they're all going to be different colors, right? And what we want to do, the only ones that are going to be the same color are the ones that are kind of like our middle color. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay these out in groups, and we're going to make sure, I'll do this first one, okay? I'm going to make sure I can put them in whatever arrangement I want, except this one needs to be the center. And I have 5 colors here, so I want to make sure I have 2 colors, this, and then 2 more colors, and I'm going down in size. So I'm going to do green, then I'm going to do this one, then I'm going to take this color, and then we'll put our pink, or Barely Blush. All right, now I want to do the exact opposite on the other side. So I start with my Barely Blush. I'm going to bring in my I have to stop and think. I was going to say this one, but this, yep, I'm sorry. See, I'm making myself go backwards. Okay, so I brought in Barely Blush, then I'm going to do my Crisp Cantaloupe, then this one goes in the center. Again, that's my number 3. Then I'm going backwards, so we're using the green, and then we've got the blue. Okay, so you see how they're exact opposites, so that's what we want. Now, all we're going to do, and I will bring my tape in for this part, there's 2 things you can consider, and this is going to be a big deal as far as what kind of trimmers you have. So the first thing, what I like to do is I'm going to push all of these down. I'm going to go ahead and put some adhesive on here. And I am centering it, but putting them all at one end. So notice I've got it centered in between the 2 edges, but it's all up against this edge. And to just verify that, I like to push down here, make sure it all lined up like it should, that kind of thing. Again, the next one is going to be this. Now, when I cut these for you, I did cut these in the 2-tone cardstock. I did that because of this next step. It's going to make it a little bit easier for you to cut through it. If you use the regular cardstock from Stampin' Up, it is a lot heavier. It's a great card base. It's great for die cutting titles and that kind of thing. But when you're going to have to cut through multiple layers, it is a little bit more difficult. And so I don't recommend that for if you're doing this technique. I do recommend that you use the 2-tone cardstock because it's a little bit thinner. All right, so there you go. So here, as you can see, I've got them all together. I've got it centered in here. That one looks a little crooked. Let me adjust that. Okay. Again, I'm just pushing it down, make sure I've got a nice clean edge. All right, so what I want to show you is you've got a couple different options for this. I've got two trimmers here that are my standard, when I cut paper, standard trimmers that I can go to. This is the one I use for pretty much everything if I'm doing my own scrapbooking, card making, that kind of thing. If I need to cut through multiple layers, I may grab something like this. It's not my favorite because I don't feel like it opens up all the way where I want it to, where I can put it up against this ledge. I'm just telling you the truth on that one, but if I can keep it straight down here, then that works for me. And then I've got another one that's off camera that I use when I'm doing multiple sheets at a time, and they're larger cuts. So I'm not gonna bring that one in because it's pretty lofty. But what I wanna show you is, when I first did this, I started it trying to put it through here. And I honestly was in, what you're gonna do is you're gonna put this and find your center. So this is 2 3/4 of an inch is the big square. Okay, so if you think about that, that's about 1 3/8, I think, is gonna be our center point. Okay, so if I put that at the 1 3/8, I can go and I can make my cut, and I would start probably from the top down, so that I could kind of get a good heavy grip of it and then swipe it down. But your paper trimmer, because you're going through so many sheets, it may do okay and it may not. You know your paper trimmer. I would play with it. I will say, even on my one that I do multiple sheets when they're bigger cuts, I thought at first, oh, I'm going to start with that because I just use that all the time. But what happened, you can see it a little bit in this, is it would push it down into the edging, and it wouldn't always cut all the way through, but it would make like a little divot, and I'd have to go back through and tell it to do it again. So for that, it was a little bit more difficult. So that's where this trimmer comes in play. Okay, now this one's loud. I'm not gonna lie to you, this one's loud. So I would put this through, and I told you it was gonna be 1 3/8. So trying to kind of find where the 1 3/8 is on here is, again, a little bit more difficult because you don't have those notches that go all the way up. But I'm going to say it's about right here, I believe. And you can eyeball it too and kind of get a good guesstimate, you know, that's fine. So, and then again, this is going to be loud, okay? And see how it even stopped me going there, and I pushed hard. So I'm going to do it again. And that is using the double-sided cardstock. So that just kind of gives you a little bit of you've got to go through a little further. Now, if I went and was higher up, it may have gone through a little bit higher just because of the momentum of my, hand pushing it down and all of that. So that's one way to do it if you feel like you can do it well. I do prefer that way just because I have everything lined up and then I can line it this way, okay? So just FYI, I do prefer it that way. But if you are not comfortable with your paper trimmer, then the next thing you can do, and we'll do it on this other one, is go ahead and cut it first and then go back and put them together. So this part takes a little bit longer if you're going to do it this way, but again, I think that it's worth it. All right, so here's one. I've got that. I'm going to put those here. This piece is a little bit more than, I think, well, let me look, I'm sorry. This is like right under, I would say this is one's 2 3/8, so like right where we cut it previously. So if I do that, I'm going to say it's just a little bit over 1 1/4. Or maybe, yeah, just a little bit, like maybe the next eyelash. Although I'm liking 1 1/4, I'm going to do it. All right, so I may have one on one side a little bit bigger, but I'll be okay. So then this one is, again, 1 7/8 maybe, or 1 7/8. So see, it's a little bit harder, but if you write these measurements down, it's really not that bad. So I'm doing this literally right, just like that next eyelash below the one on each side. So it's the 16ths, I think. Anyway, there you go. And again, you can do this just by eyeballing it better if that makes you feel better. So this is a 1.5, so that measurement's easy. It's 3/4 on each side. Make sure I didn't move it when I closed it. Okay. And then, come on. This is just a 1-inch square, so we know it's going to be a 1/2 inch on each side. We're going to cut it to 1/2 inch. All right. So again, this part took a little bit longer, but it was a lot easier to do. And if you don't think that you have a paper trimmer that can do it, I don't want you, or cut through all the layers, I don't want you to think that you can't still create. All right, so I'm going to just bring in this glue because I'm right here, and we're going to, again, this time we're going to push it all the way to the bottom, but also we're going to push it to the inside edge, because remember, this is going to be like as if these pieces were together. Okay, that's kind of what we were going for. So let me do the way that we cut it when we cut it in half. So what we're trying to get is kind of the design that we have here. Take that out. Again, we're just pushing them all the way to the bottom, all the way to the inside edge. Now, I will say this is the beauty of using liquid adhesive when you're doing this. A, it's going to stick. I mean, there's no doubt. But B, as you're trying to line it up and get everything nice and even, if you're a little off, you still have room where you can kind of push it down, and it's going to move for you, where when you use tape, it doesn't. So I do like tape adhesive. It's a lot faster. I don't have all the stickiness and all of that. But this works really, really well, especially if you're having to kind of adjust things a little bit as you go. All right. Make sure that you're putting it the same side up on both sides, especially since we have the two-tone cardstock. I want to make sure that you don't do a lighter side and then a darker side, right? You would obviously be able to tell that. Aren't these colors just beautiful, though? They don't always go together every year, but they sure did this year, I think. This one needs a little bit of a adjustment, I think. All right. All right. So there you go. So now when I put them together, you can see where it was that square. And again, I'm going to do another adjustment because it looks like that golden glow is hanging over just a little bit. Don't wait too long or it will be too hard to move, but that works, right? All right, so we've got this and we've got this. So now all we're trying to do is we're literally going to take these apart and we're going to find kind of a match. And it depends on how you want to do it, but basically we're just lining up. See how I did that? I'm just moving this over, one from one side, one from the other, and I'm moving them so that my colors line up. Just like that. And I can do that on this one as well, but I'm going to be going the other direction. So I'm creating kind of like a Z and then a backward Z. And so you can decide, you know, which colors you like or don't. So let me bring in the ones I made again with the product of the month of vellum. Here we go. I want to show you. See how I've got on my circles. I did the exact same thing except these are circles, and I've got my pink on this end here, but I've got my pink on this end. Okay, so this one made a complete circle. This one I have more of like the zigzag look, but I'm doing the same thing. I'm just, this time I pushed them all together, and this time I could just kind of spread them apart. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do, you can use whatever kind of tape that you have that you like to use in your craft room. You could even use Scotch tape since it's not on a scrapbook layout. If it was a scrapbook layout, I would tell you absolutely not because it's not acid free, but for a card, you can use Scotch tape. I'm just going to take a little bit of washi tape, and what I like to do is I will put it on one side. I turn it over backwards. I put it on one side so that I can make sure I have half of it kind of coming over, and then I'm going to line it back up like this and press it together, and I'll be good to go. Okay, Same thing over here. Now, again, you're not going to do both with me, but I'm going to have you get most of it prepped and ready to go so that, and I've got to think about this. I always have to stop and think. Did I do that on the wrong side? I did. Okay. There we go. But that way you'll have it ready and you can create another card, maybe with a different backing or different color. You can do it however you want there, okay? So that's as simple as that is. And then we're creating this beautiful little design here. Now, the one thing is, obviously you can see where this cut is. So you know that that's where you want your sentiment to be, right? And so I had cut for you one of these little tags. And so we're just gonna put our tag right here, and you can decide if you want to have it higher, lower, however you want, but we're going to put it right here. And if you would like, you can raise this one up with foam tape. That's totally up to you. Again, I'm going to take and just put some liquid adhesive, and then I'm going to use this as a sentiment place, and I can even pull it down a little bit. I'm going to try and do that without, but I still want to be able to show my colors, okay? That's the thing to be. You can have this higher, lower, centered. You can have it however you want. I did kind of want to show where the colors all kind of lined up. You're obviously missing out on the hydrangea hue, but you can still see our pine color. You can still see the others. So that's just kind of how I chose to do that. And I'm not going to glue it down quite yet because I want to add my, wording, whatever, and a flower. And so I'm going to need to know, do I need to move it over further here or centered, however you want to do that. If you look at this circle is not centered. I've got it a little bit more to the left, right? Same thing here. This one's a little bit more to the left, but that gave me room to kind of move it over here to the right because I spread it out. So it will most likely, this one will probably be a little bit more centered. I can do it like that. So I like the way that this is, just like this. However, if you wanted something a little bit different and you wanted it to feel like it was one big rectangle, you could do it kind of like I did it here on this one. And whatever color you wanted to use as your background. So like notice I have my background here is white. So I took another piece of white cardstock. I cut it out with the same style of shapes and put it behind it. And then literally it just became one rectangle, right? And so sometimes you can do that, but I also like to not have it, although I could put white there, it would still make it pop. I could put another piece of this golden glow and it wouldn't pop as much because it's going to match the background, right? But it would make it that one piece. However, I really like the design and I really want that to stand out today. So I'm just going to leave that there. All right. This is using our Secret Sea. I think Secret Sea has become my favorite color because it's a neutral in my mind. It does have a little bit of a blue to it, like a deep navy blue. And in certain stances, when you have it like near green, more of a green, you might be able to see a little bit more of a green. But it's not so stark and really stark is the word I want to use for it, as like a black, right? And so that kind of works really, really well. Now we're going to do our title. Now I'm going to show you how I did this title and some different ways that you might be able to do a title that you have. I actually did all my titles the same way on the cards because I just love the detail out of it. I don't know if you can see, but it's kind of got like a shiny hue to it. I think that came through a little bit. And so I love that you can kind of see this shininess of it and it doesn't look so flat. Because I have this shimmer paper in the background, it's definitely not flat, right? But using cardstock, sometimes that can, I don't want to say take away, because this definitely has its own desire. It's not, but this is just going to make my title or my sentiment like pop that much more. And this is such a simple, easy trick. So let me show you real quick. What you're going to do is you're just going to take a small piece of paper, whatever. I always keep my scraps like in this little bin, right? So I'm going to take just a piece of scrap, and then I'm going to take my handy dandy Scotch tape. I'm telling you, this is such a simple and easy trick, but gives so much bang for your buck. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to line this up on your paper, and you just want to make sure it's nice and smooth and flat. That's all it is. And if you wanted to do several of these at a time, you could just take a piece of white or whatever color you want to use for your base. You could take that color and then do several different pieces. That's how I did these. I just took several pieces of my tape, put it all down there, and then went back and forth and did several more cuts. Then what I'm going to do is I love, you guys have heard me talk about this before, but I love to get the paper pumpkin kits. And then I put all of my stamp sets in a little notebook so I have them, because these are perfect for my sentiments for cards. They're quick, they're easy, I can grab them and go. But I do take all of the extra additional add-on dies that you can get, and I put them all together so that they're, again, another quick way that I can grab out what I want. And one of the beautiful things about these dies is they're so generic and can be used for so many things. And I love the little word dies. So hello, hugs, hooray, joy. This is just a small little bit that I've been able to get over the last year or so and be able to put, typically you can get a set, and that set's gonna work for the next 3 months of the kits. So like for the hello, there was one in there, this is called Circle of Seasons, or that's what it came out with, but there was one card kit that it had strawberries was part of it, or an acorn that was part of it. And so you could use this, and then you got some leaves, and then you had the word hello. And so you can use them across the board for all of them, but a lot of times 1 or 2 of these will work perfectly for just 1 or 2 of the cards, or 1 month of the cards, I should say. All right, so for this one, I did thanks, and I'll just show you real quick. I think I do have my thanks one here. I had taken it out and left it out so I wouldn't forget, but I'll do it again just so that you can kind of see how simple and easy it is, even though I already have one here that is done. And then I'm going to show you another step sometimes I'll take as well. Again, I'm going to do this kind of off camera because it is a little bit noisy and shakes my table, and I don't want you to have to hear that. So here's this. I'm just going to pull this right out. You can see it just came right out, no problem. I am going to take my piercing tool, maybe, and just pop out. It's got all these like little holes off the side for more detailed, so it'll just pop right through. Okay. And then every once in a while you get these little pieces that kind of, you know, hang in there just a little bit, but you can see just how easy they are to pop them out. So I like to keep my tool there. All right. And that could be ready to go. However, what I also like to do, and this is just another tip, is if you take and cut out several, sorry about that. If you cut out several of your dies, and I did that, I just need to find them. Oh, they're there. If you cut out several of your dies of all the same word, and you just do them in regular cardstock, the same colors as what you're doing here, and then you glue them together, you're going to get a really thick, heavy-duty design that's going to hold really, really well. Now, I like to use my glass mat and or my silicone mat, but this, let me tell you, this silicone mat is the bomb diggity, because I tend to get myself pretty inked up or pretty glued up, and I'm just putting little dots on here. But this silicone mat is not going to let any kind of glue stick to it, and it's going to kind of take the abuse for me, so I don't have to continue to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my next one and I'm going to lay it on top, and I'm going to make sure that it's all lined up just by taking my hands and holding it just a little bit, kind of do it like that. Same thing, just kind of put it on its end where I know I have a flat mark and push it down. And then I'm going to go and do this again. And you can do as many of these as you want. 5 is kind of a magic number. I think it kind of gives it a nice thickness that really is substantial and that you're going to be able to feel on the card. And again, this is why I did not use any foam tape on my card, because I knew that I was going to do this. Okay, so there we go. That's 3. I'm going to do another one. And I can see where these are kind of starting to separate. So I'm just going to take, let me see if I've got some tweezers. So that again, my hands aren't getting all into it. And I'm just pushing that together to make sure I've got everything nice and lined up. You want it to look like it was one thick piece of chipboard. So you're not trying to see the layers behind it. Now that's a different technique. You could see the layers behind it and kind of create your own shadow effect. But that is not what I'm going for today. Today what I'm going for is I want that chipboard type feel. Okay, so there was 4 pieces of our standard cardstock, and now I'm going to put this one on top. Again, you don't have to go do this. You could just use the one, but I wanted to kind of show you another option. There we go. And if you ever feel like some of them just kind of moved, again, this is where your tweezers kind of come in well. And then using the silicone mat, if any, you know, of the glue seeps out on the sides as you're putting it together, you can put it all together. And so I'm just gonna pop that down. Again, this is just me keeping my hands from getting all inky and, or not inky, but covered in glue and sticky. All right, so now, I don't know if you can hear that, but that's pretty substantial. That's pretty substantial. Look how thick that is. I mean, that really does look like a piece of foam or cardboard. I mean, that's pretty substantial. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to glue that here into the center. And look how that pops. Just that little bit of adding a little bit of tape that you probably have. I wouldn't use Scotch tape in this because for 2 reasons. One, Scotch tape a lot of times is more, instead of being clear, it's kind of got a little bit of like a vellum look to it. And it's a little bit thinner, so depending on, or not as wide. So depending on how far you needed it to, how wide you needed your title to be, it may not cover the whole area. So that's why packaging tape, again, will just work so well. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and add it to the back. Because we didn't adhere that on yet, I'm going to take this off, take this, and then just go ahead and put this in here. And I chose thanks because I decided on this one, I just wanted it to fit across and basically fit in that whole flag or banner. But you could have it go off to the side, kind of like I did on this one. Same word, I just had a slightly longer, and I didn't try and center it. I had it go off to the side. I did that on most of mine, actually. So I was trying to see if I could see any that were different, but I think they're all about the same that you're going to see. All right, so same thing, just going to kind of, now let me show you this whole like silicone mat. I do not give it enough credit, but I'm going to bring in my paper tape just so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. This makes great, like if you're trying to figure out your embellishment cluster for a layout and you're really not sure how big and all of that, this makes it great. But look, I can push down on here and it's all gonna come right up. And I don't have to worry about it sticking to it. It's all gonna come up. Now I'm actually gonna do double duty because I wanted to show you that. But on this, I wanna make sure that that doesn't move before it's too dry. On this, I'm actually gonna use my liquid adhesive because I'm using a raised surface. I want to make sure that my raised surface, I'm able to get down into the grooves. With my tape, it would just stick to these little raised parts, and I think there's more chance for it to let loose. So I'm just going to take this off. Again, how fabulous was that? I didn't have to pick and pull and all of that. And then maybe, you know, separate things. And all right, so, and then I'm just going to, I feel like I can probably center this. So I'm just going to put it centered. Just like that. I don't think that's gonna, I did not put enough on there that I think it's gonna leak out, but just in case, okay? Now the other thing I had put in your packs was just like these little flowers. And these flowers, these are just so fun. This is from one of our punches that we have. I love that I can create flowers like in a drop of a hat. Super, super easy, right? So I just punch out a bunch. I always have them here on my table in a little container, and then I can just go to the container when I need something. And so that's honestly how these kind of came to mind. And I'm going to put this over here. I am going to put some foam tape behind it, again, just to kind of give it some body, have it kind of go off the side. I did have in your kits for you, I did have some of the leaves. Again, those came from the same punch. And I don't want my leaves, actually, let's say I do want my leaves. So I'm going to put just a little dot here at the bottom. Probably should have just done this on my silicone mat, huh? There we go. So there at the bottom, and then put this on top just like this. I'm going to line this up where I want it to go. I'm going to get my pickup tool because this works so much easier for me. And I want this to kind of go off. Again, this is going to create the illusion of making it larger. And then I'm going to put this here. Now, I could take some of my tools and press it so that it kind of raises a bit. I didn't do that. I've got some of them. It's up to you if you want it to have a raised look. Basically what you're looking for is a tool that has like a little circular end like that on it. And then you can just kind of go, and you usually want to use like a foam pad or something. I actually have some of our foam pieces here. I could just go over the top of that, and it's just going to kind of raise it. And I just go into the center and I'm raising it. That's all I'm doing. I don't really feel like I need to do that on this one, so I'm not going to make it a big deal. But I am going to take one of those pieces and put it on the back here and use that as raised so that my leaves behind it give it that dimension. Let me put some foam on this, or some adhesive on this. Put this off to the side so that can stick there. And then I'm going to put this right off to the side. And again, you can decide if you want your tag to be showing or not, like the whole base end, or if you want to cover it and make it look like it's coming straight from it. I had no problem with that. And then hopefully you didn't lose it when you emptied your kit, but I did put in one little dot that you could put here in the center to give it just a little hop. You also received in your kit some of the butterflies, so feel free to add butterflies to yours. I gave all of mine away, so unfortunately I can't, but you should have some other little trinkets and little pieces in there as well. So that is your card, and look how beautiful that is. And so again, this is just very, very simple with using your squares, but I've also showed you how to use your circles and to do different backgrounds. So I do hope that you will play with this theme, show me what you create, have fun with it, use different backgrounds, use different papers. You can see in this one, like all of these I did, oh, I got a dog here, shocker. On all of these I just used cardstock, but on this one, like we talked about, I did bring in some of my pattern vellum. You can use pattern vellum, you can use pattern B&T, you can use whatever you want. So don't think it just has to be cardstock, but I loved how all of these colors came together, and I really wanted to just highlight them and show them to you. So I hope that you like those as well, and I hope that you will recreate and show me what you made. All right, happy scrapping. Bye-bye, everybody.